What is happening, everyone? This is another episode of Professional American. Man, anything been going on lately? Has anything been going on in the news? I don't know. Good Lord, I swear. I try really hard not to use all of my mental bandwidth to process everything because, holy crap, sensory overload. Anyone who has a kid, you know that moment when your kid has had there's too much going on and they mentally just shut down. I think we're at that point as a society. I think there's way too much going on. I mean, Americans already have short-term memory, and to then, man, a 24-hour news cycle isn't even. It's not even 24 hours anymore. It's like 12 hours. It's insane. Well, what are we going to talk about today on Professional American? This is gonna be a little smorgasbord here. A little bit of everything. Probably gonna ruffle some feathers on this one, and maybe bring it all back together at the end. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm not gonna promise you anything. I can promise you one thing: you're gonna die someday. Hopefully, a long time from now, but you're going to. Just as a spoiler alert, if you didn't know how this movie ends. So, I wanted to, first of all, start out by thanking everyone who listened to the last episode and who reached out, also to those who read over on the website the article which I posted and read on the podcast about Afghanistan. Thank you very much for everyone who reached out. Was able to have further discussions with some people who wanted to know more information, that's awesome. That's always my goal, is to have a conversation. Man, if I could get paid just to talk to people, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I would love to, I like getting in people's minds. I'd like to know where they're coming from. I'd like people to know where I'm coming from. I don't care that we may not agree. But to have that conversation, that discourse is so badly needed today, without jumping down people's throats. And, man, so thank you to everyone who reached out. I will be having probably more further discussions on this. I know a good friend of the show, Jody Hanks, reached out to me to hopefully be on one of their shows, Digression Podcast, in regards to Afghanistan, to have a little further discussion. I know for a fact that Jody and I do disagree on a couple little things, but the big picture we definitely agree on, which is, that's the whole point, being able to have a discussion. And you can agree on where the destination of the car ride is going to be. You are allowed to disagree on what road to take to get to that same destination, so long as the destination is can be agreed upon. I think that's the overarching picture here. While on the topic of Afghanistan, I guess we'll just kind of roll into it here. Actually, there's really not a whole lot I really want to talk about without really rehashing it. I've spent a lot of time trying to first deconstruct my feelings, process all the information that's coming out in the news, which now is not going to exist because of everything else which we're going to talk about. And so deconstructing my feelings, processing the information, reassembling everything to form an opinion and a thought, and then at a certain point, once everything's processed, you kind of just then, I don't want to say compartmentalize, but you kind of want to put it back in the filing cabinet until it's needed. At least this is how it's always worked for me. And then as new information comes out, so if you want to think about this as a folder and with a bunch of files, an event happens, Afghanistan, and it's a bunch of different papers just being thrown at your face. And some of those papers are going to be your feelings, and some of those papers are going to be information. First thing to do is take the time, sit down, pick up all those pieces of paper, sort them out into different piles and categories. Process each individual piece of paper, organize it the way you want it to store it, and then put it in a folder, put that folder in a filing cabinet. As new information comes out, as new emotions develop, you process that, but it's not going to be as much as the initial explosion in your face. So you process everything and then go back to that folder, insert them where they need to be inserted into that folder. Always adding to the repertoire, to the portfolio, if you will. So that's essentially how I'm going on with this. I don't have many new feelings about this so far. What I stated on the last podcast is pretty much where nothing has really changed. Some information has changed a little bit. Right now, 4 out of the 5 prisoners that we traded in return for Bo Bergdahl are now in senior positions in the Taliban government. So that's always good, right? We don't negotiate with terrorists, except when we do, we give them back their people to then take over Afghanistan in the future. Good times. Many there were lives lost when looking for Bo Bergdahl, and that man should have been put to death, in my opinion, as for being a traitor. But that's maybe a topic for another discussion. So I think that's all on Afghanistan. I think I've touched on Afghanistan enough for this show for now. Maybe we'll come back another time. So let's get into something that's less controversial, and that would be over vaccines. Slightly less controversial. I'm going to touch this one with a very delicate finger because obviously the contentious, divisive, there are so many things that can describe all this. What I'm going to talk about, though, I am not going to, I'll say this right now. I'm not going to sit here and say whether you should or should not do that. I'm not going to do that. It is not my position to do so. Even if you were my husband or wife or child, a child, I might change my answer on that. If you were a direct family member of mine, it would still not be my responsibility to tell you to do or not to do something like this. Okay? The only person who is responsible for the health of your body, unless you are incapable of taking care of yourself, is you. You are the only person who is responsible for that. You are responsible for brushing your teeth. You're responsible for wiping your ass. You are responsible for what goes into your face, and you are responsible for what you do with the meat wagon that is your body. Nobody else. And like I said, obviously there are extenuating circumstances to that statement. As a broad general brushstroke, what I just said is true. I am not responsible. Now, okay. If I have tuberculosis and I walk up to you and spit on your face, yes, that is an extenuating circumstance. And I just changed the ball game. I get that. But ultimately, I think one thing that has been ignored, and I definitely talked about this once before, one thing that's being ignored is the fact that you were born with an immune system. You were created to have an immune system. And if you don't take care of your personal health and body, that immune system cannot function properly. All these arguments I keep getting posed to me about how, our immune system can't fight this, we can't do this. That may be true. However, the big portion of the reason why a lot of people are getting sick and dying, not just of SARS-CoV-2, but of a lot of different illnesses, is because your body's immune system cannot properly function because it is overloaded with the lack of care that you have provided it. This is not to say that someone who is completely metabolically healthy, not on any medications, who takes care of themselves, will never get sick. That's not true. Everyone is going to get sick at one point in their life or another. How you take care of your body and set it up with all the tools and success will dictate how it reacts to the sickness. If you smoke, if you drink heavily, or really at all, but heavily, if you eat lots of sugar, if you don't exercise, if you don't get sunlight, if you sit around on your ass shoving junk food in your face while watching TV, I'm sorry that you need to hear this way, but you have set up your body for failure. May not be now, may not be tomorrow, but somewhere down the line. And it may not be fatal. Look, it may not even be fatal. But something that may, let's say in reality, if you didn't do all those things, would take your body maybe 2 days to clear up. It now could take a week or 2 weeks or a month. This isn't conspiracy. This is I love the whole we need to believe science. I'm pro-science. But that pro-science is always in regards to pharmaceuticals. It's rarely the science of how biology actually works in your body. It's never believe the science, which is your body has functioning systems that work together, and if you screw one up, you're going to throw a wrench in the whole system. Anyway, so how is this playing out for everybody? Well, today is Friday, September 10th. Last night, the President of the United States said that he was now going to mandate COVID vaccinations for federal employees. Said he's going to put pressure on state governments to mandate vaccinations on private sector. I'm not even going to get into the whole constitutionality here. I'm not going to get into that. I said I'm not going to tell you whether you should or should not. I can tell you who also should not be able to tell me what I can and cannot do with my health of my body, and that would be the local, state, and federal government. Nobody knows my body better than me. Nobody knows your body better than you. And if you've decided to not pay attention to your body, well, that's on you too. That's a you problem. What I find ironic here is the fact that a while ago, there were people who said that this very thing would happen. And those people were laughed at, called conspiracy theorists. I believe that there is a conspiracy to this, because conspiracy is a real word, and you can look that up for your whatever book you want to get that definition from, whatever website, that's fine. You can conspire with someone to do something. That does not make it any less real. I think there may be some conspiracy going on in all of this, but I will not speculate. I'm only here to discuss the facts of what's happening. What has been happening over the last year has been the discussion of only one option. Actually, there's been two options. Option number one is mask up. Option number two is inject something into your body. That's it. Those are the only two options. Problem solved, right? I have said this before too, and it's the only example that I can really come up with, is that if you went to an investor and you said, look, here's my life savings of, I don't even know what a normal life savings is anymore. Here's 20 grand. This is all I have. This is every penny to my name. I want to invest this to make this work the best. Let's make the most out of this. And that guy looked at you and said, well, you have two options. this or that. That's it. You're going to dump all your money into these two options. I would hope that you would turn around and walk right the hell out of that place and find someone who would go, you know what, we should take a little bit and put some here. We're going to diversify. We're going to put some here. We're going to put some here. I know this is doing well right now. We can see how this plays out. And if this doesn't work well, we'll shift it over to here. Give you options. Well, your health is no different. I can beat this horse. I mean, this horse has not been dead. This horse has been buried at this point. But if I have to dig it up again and continue to beat it, I will. Your health is not a binary black and white. This is what we're going to do, and that's it. It's always going to change. First of all, it's going to change. What might work one day, or it might work for a couple years, is not going to work one day. Example, when we're younger, in our teens, look at the crap that we did as teenagers, or even in the 20s, the things you could get away with. I vividly remember in the not-so-distant future staying up to finish jobs 12, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, drinking energy drinks, going to sleep for a few hours, wake up, pound coffee, rinse and repeat. It worked. It worked for a little bit, but that wasn't sustainable. So your health and your body is always going to evolve. Maybe short term, maybe long term. But it's also not the same for every person. What works for me does not work for my wife. We'll just stick within my house here. I happen to thrive. My body thrives very well. It thrives on 7.5 to 8.5 hours of sleep. I have it down to an hour window. It thrives very well on mass water consumption. I probably drink close to a gallon a day. Maybe a little bit more. Depends on the day. Depends on my activity. It happens to thrive very well on a mostly animal-based diet. Lots of red meat, butter, cheese. We don't usually keep milk in the house, but I do fine with milk. It also does okay with things like potatoes, carrots, and rice. Now, they're not technically vegetables. I know that's a whole other discussion. Root vegetables like tubers, carrots, tomatoes. My body doesn't seem to mind them that much. Chicken, again, meat products. Crystal, on the other hand, while she does love all of those things, and she did try it for a little bit and was actually feeling very good, her body actually prefers more vegetables, more greens. Her body doesn't have a problem with that, whereas mine actually does. So that's two people right there. Same house. All right, sorry about that. I had to stop because Chewy decided to start barking, and probably because the neighbor dog 3 houses down always barks. But I don't exactly remember where I was in my thought process, but just going back to, there are two people in the same house with similar upbringings that have tried similar diets and have had similar results, but ultimately after it did change and ended up with two different results. So it doesn't work for everybody. I understand what I do doesn't work for somebody else, and I understand what somebody else does may or may not work for me. I don't know, but I do know what does work for me. So I do not understand, and I've tried very, very hard to not go down, the theory rabbit hole of, one world order and all this stuff about how this is all planned, and it's hard, but I'm trying to look at all of this objectively. I cannot see the end game here. I always try to look at when something happens, I always try to think to myself, well, what would the purpose, what would the result of this be? What would be the benefit of all of this down the road? Tying it back in with Afghanistan real quick, at least the pullout from Afghanistan, as crappy as it was, at least I could look at that and go, okay, well, the benefit that for this group of people in this scenario is President Biden. The benefit for him is that he gets to say, I'm the first of 5 presidents to be able to remove troops from the region. That's a benefit for him. He gets to use that. That's his legacy moving forward. He gets to use that as part of his reelection campaign. And if not him, definitely the party itself, the administration can. So in looking at this, I'm unable to figure this out. I don't know what the benefit would be to making a large group of people do only one thing for their quote-unquote health. But never once mentioning go outside, get some sun, just be active, lay off the sugar. Maybe just this is a great time to clean up your diet because, hey, your immune system does rely heavily on your gut. I don't know. I can't see the end game here. All I see when I look at this is the movie WALL-E. Just a bunch of fat, lazy people being carted around doing what they're told to do, and but not actually physically able to stand up or do anything. That's all I see, and I hope that doesn't happen. With these mandates, it is personally affecting our family, my family, and I have a feeling with as many people as being touted by the government, I have a feeling it might be affecting your family at some level. Without going into it too much, I'll have a link in the notes. I wrote an article yesterday kind of outlining what is going to go out and what's going on in our family. Crystal is an ultrasound tech for one of the largest health networks in the region. And all the health networks around here teamed up, and they all said all of our employees must be vaccinated. If you don't do so, we will consider that your resignation. Because legally, they can't fire you, but however, legally, they can't resign you either. So we don't know how this is going to play out. But I wrote a big thing on that. I'll leave in the link in the show notes so you can go check that out. My big thing is and I've said this for a very long time, but what is your line in the sand? I first started saying this about masks. What is your line in the sand? Are you willing to take your mask off outside in open air? Are you willing to take it off in the car by yourself? Are you willing to take it off when you're around other people outside? Are you willing, where's your line in the sand? Will it eventually be, I'm not wearing it at all because, well, there's no science to actually show that it is effective. Where's your line in the sand? There's a lot of people saw, a lot of people saw this coming. It's just for this. Just do this. Now, just do this. All right, I'll do that. When it comes to SARS-CoV-2, I think we really need to start asking ourselves now. I mean, you should have asked yourself this from the very beginning. But what are you willing, as a country, what are we willing to tolerate? Is the goal really zero COVID? Is that really the goal? Is the goal really 0 cases, 0 infections, 0 cases, 0 deaths, and 100% vaccination? Is that really the goal? That sounds really absurd, does it not? 0? We were told from the beginning, back when this was really shady and looked really bad, that this was only going to be for a little bit just so we could get a handle on this. And the governmental response. And look, this was Republican and Democrat, so this is not a jab at one party or another. This was across the board. They saw an opportunity. They grabbed a little bit. They grabbed a little bit more. Now, in the good graces that they are, a lot of governments they let go of the power. Not all of them. Some did. And they are a gracious God. But I really think we just need to start asking ourselves, how much risk you take every day when you get in your car, just run to the grocery store. There's a chance that you'll get hit. Yes, we have seatbelts. Yes, we have airbags. But there are plenty of cases and instances where those don't actually do a good job of preventing injury and death. Now, generally speaking, they do. There's always the extenuating circumstance. I mean, generally speaking, most people don't die from COVID either. But there are some. So what are you willing to tolerate? Everyone does a risk assessment when they wake up every morning. Whether you consciously think that you are or not is a different story, but you do. You do a risk assessment. All right. How this is going to affect, everyone's family at this point is, look at it this way. This is no longer like these mandates that are going to try to be pushed down onto businesses. This is no longer about the crazy anti-vaxxer. I've listened to and read and spoken to people who have received their first vaccination. In many cases, it's the 2 series shot. And they do not want to receive a third. Now, I can hear some of you saying, well, no one's saying you need to get the third right now. Well, there are some places saying that. And some of these policies would require you to get the booster. However many it is. If you agree, if you're there, you have to get it, whether you want it or not. So we're not even talking about crazy anti-vaxxers. We're talking about forcing people who don't want to get a booster to get it. People who have already received their current vaccination not wanting to get any more. So we're not talking about crazy anti-vaxxers. We're talking about normal people now that will be forced to do something. So when do these people stand up and say, I will not tolerate this? This is my line in the sand. Some people are just willing to tolerate a lot more than others. As far as being told what to do, I personally do not like to be told what to do. I don't mind receiving instruction from if I am asking for instruction, you can tell me. If I'm asking you to tell me what to do, then I'll do it. Or I'll at least, if I'm asking someone to do something or to tell me what to do, that it's assumed that I don't know what I'm doing at that point. But just blatant, outright coming out and saying you will do this or you will not be able to participate in society. And I'm sorry, again, that some of you have to hear this. I was told that this would never happen. I was specifically told. I have several names in my head of people who directly told me that this would never happen, that this is not discrimination. But here we are. I think ultimately, this is similar to Afghanistan. I said this before. Americans have a very short-term memory, and Afghanistan was done based on the opinion that it was popular with the public. You know, that bumper sticker and slogan, no more endless wars, get out of Afghanistan, bring the troops home. That became public policy because that was public opinion. We've had a good amount of time now of public opinion and public popularity growing of, well, the unvaccinated shouldn't even be able to be seen in a hospital. That's funny. Last time I checked, we still accept people who are 200 pounds overweight with heart disease having a heart attack. We allow them to get medical treatment, even though they've spent most of their lives doing everything they can to not prevent it. We still give those people treatment. When people develop pneumonia who have spent their entire lives smoking, or lung cancer, we treat those people, even though they've been told not to smoke. They've been told the risks of smoking. We still treat those people. Funny, even if you're wearing seatbelt and have airbags and you decide to go do 100 miles an hour down a public road and get into an accident and get rushed to the hospital, we still treat those people even though they were told not to speed. Huh. But somehow, in this instance, the crazy anti-vaxxers shouldn't be given medical treatment because they chose what they want to do with their body. And as that public opinion starts making its rounds, it may take a little time, but man, there are some scared people out there. I still see people driving around in their car with a mask on by themselves. I still see people riding their bikes on our rail trail with masks on. I still see it. Still see people putting on masks to go pump the gas in their car. They're in a pump by themselves. So there are people who are scared. And whatever. If those people want, I feel sorry for those people. Really, I do. Because they've spent all this time focused on how they could die and none on how they could actually live. And once this public opinion makes its rounds and more people pick up and it picks up some steam, soon there will be nobody left to fight back, to push back against it, and people will stay quiet. We're there. This is no longer foreshadowing. It's here. And again, this is no longer, some Alex Jones type guy with tinfoil wrapped around his head sitting outside saying, they're turning the frogs gay and it's raining down silver from the sky every day and, 5G is going to give me magnetic wrists. I don't know. It's not that anymore. And the birds aren't real. They're cameras, which that's an interesting one I'd love to get into someday with somebody. If you truly believe, look, if you're listening to this and you truly believe that birds are a conspiracy theory, that they're just cameras set up for the government, I really want to have a conversation with you. So if you know somebody who truly believes this theory, give them my information. I would love to have a conversation with them. Doesn't have to be public. You can have a private conversation. I got to pick your brain. Anywho, this is no longer those people. This is no longer flat earthers. This is now going to affect people close to you. And they're going to have to decide, do they give up on what they stand for just so that they can have a job? Just so they can be a member of society. I'll get off this topic. Let's move on to two more things here I have written down on the schedule. First up, tomorrow, actually both topics are about tomorrow. Tomorrow is the opening day of squirrel season here in Pennsylvania. It's part of our small game season. We are allowed to take 6 squirrels per day per person. So I'll be going out. This will be I think this is only the second time I've actually gone out for an official squirrel season. I went one other time, a long time ago, actually, now that I think about it. Didn't get anything that time. But this time, going with my youngest. Carrie is 9, and last year she really started getting into shooting. Picked her up a 22 this year. She'll say it's hers, and it is mine. But it's a Ruger 10-22, a very simple semi-automatic 22, and easy to shoot, easy to carry, has a nice scope on it, nothing fancy. I'll tell you what, she's good. she's pretty good. Kind of makes me wish I would have started her a little earlier, but I think her one drawback is she really puts a lot of effort into making a good shot, mind you, but she really does. She puts a lot of mental willpower into lining up that shot. But that's fine. I'm okay with that. So we'll see. Over the weekend, on Memorial Day, Labor Day, I set up a little can course out behind my mother-in-law's house. Put cans in places that squirrels would normally, how they would sit, so we could walk through kind of like a little obstacle course, real world, not just shooting at a target. Put some cans up there and taught her how to lean up against trees and stuff like that. So we'll be going out. She's got all her gear. We're going to do a loadout tonight to make sure we have everything ready to go first thing in the morning. So really looking forward to that. And this is not something I'm forcing her into at all. We got her selfishly, we got her hooked on to the Meat Eater show, which if you haven't checked out Meat Eater, check it out on Netflix. It's a really, really good show to watch. There's more on YouTube as well. I think it's probably one of the best hunting shows there is. There are episodes where he will actually go on the hunt, show you what goes into it, and then not get something. It's not just a trophy hunt every single time. So that's what I like about it. Also goes into cooking, meat preparation, and all that good kind of stuff. Meat Eater podcast is really good too. So check that out. But she got hooked into that, started bugging me about shooting. She wants to hunt bigger stuff, but I told her let's start with squirrel, work our way up to it. So we'll go from there. Hopefully tomorrow we come back with some stew meat. Hopefully we do. So we're good to go on that. And finally, since tomorrow is also September 11th, I would be remiss to not mention and bring up September 11th. It is the 20th anniversary. It's hard to ignore that. And man, September 11th really, really changed the trajectory of my life and many other people's lives. I mean, especially in my age group, there's a lot of people's lives that would be completely different if the attacks on 9/11 never happened. I was 15. I was only a few months away from turning 16 years old when it happened. I believe I was in biology class when I first heard the news, if I remember right. 102, because I'm not smart, so it wasn't biology 101. I was in the dumb kids biology class. And last year, I actually had wrote a little post, and I'll read it again here. I wrote it over on the Bearded Detailer Facebook page. And I think it might be one of my better ways of framing this day. The 9/11 memorial is so moving, at least for me. So many lives did not get a chance to continue. This name is just one of thousands, but to my mom, Robert W. Hamilton was a childhood friend. He was born on the 16th of January 1958 and grew up in Ridgewood, Queens, New York. He had a son and a daughter, and he spent his entire FDNY career at Squad 41 in the Bronx. He gave his life helping others 18 years ago. Man, 18. That hurts to write. It's a number that we equate with becoming an adult and voting. It's an official number. Today there are people that are old enough to vote that don't remember the attacks. They don't remember the smoke clouds from the towers. They don't remember the second plane hitting the tower. More importantly, they don't remember the feelings felt knowing that we had been attacked. Many people my age had our lives changed forever within that hour and 42 minutes. We had no idea that life would never be the same. Many would volunteer to wear a uniform. Didn't matter if it was military or civilian service. It was just the right thing to do. Defend our country and its people, no matter what the cost. We should never forget, not just because it's a catchy phrase that gets thrown around like a broken-in pair of gym shorts, by keeping the names of those that perished that day and the days that followed in the front of our memories, they will never be completely gone. The 9/11 Memorial is just that, a constant reminder of those that we don't want to be gone. I hope it's also a reminder of what happened that day so that the embers of that fire that was within us all may never, ever be extinguished. So that was actually a repost from 2 years ago. I shared it last year, and it was from the year before. But it still rings true. My feelings really haven't changed that much. And man, if you've ever had the opportunity to make it to the memorial in New York City, you know exactly how it feels to stand there. If you haven't been there, I strongly suggest you figure out a way to get there, and it will change how you feel. I hope. My family is originally, I was born in New York City. My parents were born in New York City, and it rings to us a certain way. Something else I wrote this last year, and I promise you this was written last year. It's been said by many people that are much smarter than me, but I have long agreed with, that I would give almost anything to live in the unity of September 12th, 2001. In my opinion, this day and the days that followed in the recovery efforts was when America was truly great, at least in my lifetime. Americans realized that there was so much more that united us than divided us. Americans realized that we may not be perfect, but this is our home, and it is worth loving and protecting. Americans were reminded that there is evil in the world that would love nothing more than to end our comfortable way of life. I never want to lose almost 3,000 Americans in a single attack ever again, but damn it, do I want so badly the love and support that followed. Call to service, love of neighbors, and pride of country. Please, please can we have this again before it's too late? It shouldn't take a massive event to accomplish this. That's, man, without really, if I go too much more down the 9/11 path here, it's, I don't know. It's a powerful day. I really urge you to take a moment, listen or watch the ceremony that will play out tomorrow. Listen to the names. Actually, I will say on Facebook, the 9/11 Museum and Memorial page, they do a great job of highlighting people who were killed that day. They try to do a little story every once in a while. So do that. Go check that out. That's all I got. That's really all I got for this time. I think this is all good to lump together, and hopefully you weren't offended too much by my dog's interruption of this great podcast. So if you are, please feel free to write in and tell me how I should euthanize him for his destructive habits and disruptive habits as well. Or maybe you have a better punishment. Maybe he deserves to be flogged. I don't know. Sarcasm's a great thing, and you probably shouldn't take what I'm saying seriously right now. That's all I got. Thanks for listening, everybody. Get out there and make every day better than it was yesterday. Be a better person than you were yesterday. That's all I got. Take care.